I lost my wife. I lost my home. But this one thing helped me stand again. Have you ever lost everything, your partner, your home, your reason to wake up, and still had to keep going? I did. And what saved me wasn't money or faith or even family. It was something else, something no one talks about. But it may be the one thing you still have, even after everything's gone. If you've ever felt that kind of silence, that aching space after loss, when everyone else seems to have moved on, you're not alone. And you're not broken. What I'm about to share isn't just my story. It's something I believe every senior in America needs to hear, especially those who've lost more than most people can imagine. Because after 60 loss comes faster than we expect. A spouse, a home, a job title, a purpose. And when it all disappears, what are we left with? Emptiness, regret, or maybe a chance. A chance to rebuild not what we had, but what we still can be. This isn't a sad story. It's not a pity tale. It's a quiet wake-up call for anyone who thinks their best years are behind them. Because what helped me stand again is still out there. And it might be closer than you think. If this message speaks to something in your heart, consider subscribing to this channel. It helps us keep creating honest healing stories for people like you. Now, a question just for you. When life took something precious from you, what did you reach for first? A distraction, keeping busy. So I wouldn't feel be-reflection facing the pain and asking what it's trying to teach me. Type A or B in the comments. Your words might help someone else feel less alone. And now, let's go deeper. Because what saved me might just save you too. After loss strips everything away, titles, routines, even the person who made you feel whole, you begin to see what's left. And often what remains isn't what you expected. Not strength, not clarity. What's left is silence. In that silence, you meet yourself. Not the version others saw at work or the one who showed up for family holidays. Just you. And that meeting can be terrifying, especially if you don't recognize the person staring back. For a while, I didn't. Days blurred together. I went to the store just to hear a cashier say, "Have a nice day." I ate dinner with the TV just to hear another human voice. It wasn't that I didn't want to live, I just didn't know how to without the anchors that had always defined my life. But in that stillness, something unexpected happened. I began to notice what I hadn't before. The way light hit the table at 3 p.m. The sound of birds in the early morning. The neighbor's dog barking at nothing. These weren't just background details. They were proof that life was still happening, even if mine felt paused. And that realization gave me a question, not about the past, but the future. If I'm still here, what now? It's a question no one else can answer for you, but it's the one that saved me. Because asking it forced me to stop measuring my life by what I'd lost and start exploring what I still had. At first, it wasn't much. A working pair of legs, a voice that still worked, a mind that, though a little foggy some days, could still wonder. That was my inventory. That was my foundation. Most people think purpose is something big, like a job, a role, a mission. But for those of us starting over after 60, purpose often begins in smaller places. In noticing, in listening, in showing up for life again. And that's when it began for me, not in some dramatic breakthrough, but in small, consistent moments of choosing to live with intention. If you've ever found yourself asking, "Is this all there is now?" I can tell you the answer is no. But to find what's next, you You have to stop running from the silence. You have to walk through it. That's how you discover what's still yours even after everything else is gone. Purpose isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't wait at the end of a checklist or fall into place because you retired, stayed busy, or joined a group. It's something you have to rebuild piece by piece, especially after life tears everything else down. What no one tells you is that purpose doesn't need to be big. In fact, after 60, it rarely is. You don't need to start a foundation, write a book, or change the world. What you do need is to feel that you still matter to someone, somewhere, for something. That sense of meaning is the strongest medicine you'll ever take. It won't come in a pill, but it will save your health, your mind, and maybe even your life. One day, after weeks of quiet, I heard a neighbor ask for help fixing her porch light. It wasn't a big job, but when I said yes, and we stood there on that front step, chatting about nothing, I felt something shift. It wasn't about the light. It was about being useful. That single interaction reminded me I wasn't finished yet, and I started asking where else could I be of use. From there, it snowballed. I offered to help organize the local library's book drive. I volunteered once a week at a community garden. I called my nephew and asked if his son needed help with math. None of these things changed the world, but they changed me. Studies from Harvard and Mayo Clinic have shown that seniors with a clear sense of purpose are not only happier, they're healthier, lower risk of stroke, better sleep, even longer lifespan. Purpose is more than emotional. It's physiological. Your body knows when you've given up, and it knows when you haven't. So if you're sitting in silence, wondering what's left for you, the answer isn't out there, it starts inside. Ask yourself, who still needs what I carry? What can I offer? That isn't about money, status, or speed, but about presence. You don't have to be everything to everyone, but being something to someone, that's where life begins again. And once that spark returns, everything changes not overnight, but with every new reason to show up one quiet morning at a time. Once I understood that purpose was less about grandeur and more about connection, I began testing small ways to bring it back into my life. Not all of them worked, but 5 made such a difference that I now believe every senior should try them, especially after a deep loss. The first was offering help based on something I already knew. When I stopped trying to reinvent myself and just leaned on the skills I already had, purpose came naturally. You don't need to become someone new, you just need to remember what you've always been good at. If you once worked with your hands, fix something for someone. If you were a good listener, offer your presence. Start where you are. Second, I chose to mentor. It didn't need to be formal. Sometimes it was just answering questions from a neighbor's grandson about tools or life advice over coffee. But the act of passing down something wisdom encouragement time reminded me that my experience still held value. Third, I joined a group that understood loss. I didn't want to. The first meeting felt awkward, but grief softens when shared, and even sitting silently with others who had been through similar pain helped me feel human again. Sometimes, healing begins just by being around people who don't expect you to move on, but simply to be. Fourth, I began writing. Nothing public, just a small notebook. I called it Quiet Mornings, where I wrote 1 paragraph each day, not of what I did, but of what I noticed or felt. It gave shape to my days and clarity to my thoughts. Writing doesn't need an audience. Sometimes you write just to hear yourself think. Lastly, I created a morning ritual that gave me direction. Every morning I made my coffee, opened a window, and spoke one sentence of gratitude out loud. It felt silly at first, but over time it grounded me. It became a promise to myself, if I can still give thanks, I can still begin again. None of these required money or big decisions, but each one returned a small piece of myself that grief had tried to erase. And if you try just one of them, start simple. Don't aim for transformation, aim for movement. Because the smallest shift repeated daily is often what pulls us back into life. I no longer measure my life by what I've lost. That phase, painful as it was, taught me something no doctor, no book, no sermon ever did, that aging doesn't mean fading. It means evolving into something quieter, deeper, and in many ways more meaningful. These days, my apartment is small, nothing like the home I once had, but it holds warmth. It holds memories I've made since starting over. I keep it simple: one table for writing, one shelf for books, one photo of Ellen on the windowsill. It's not about what fills the space. It's about what fills me. I wake up at 6:30 every morning, not because I have to, but because I want to. I start my day with a slow walk around the neighborhood. I nod to the same mailman, the same barking dog, the same couple who waters their garden. That routine, humble as it seems, reminds me that I'm part of something again. Twice a week, I read stories aloud to children at the local library. Their laughter does something to the air. It makes it lighter. Once a month, I meet with a small group of men, all over 70, to share coffee and silence. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we don't. What matters is that we show up. I've learned to stop asking, how do I get my old life back? And instead ask, what kind of life can I build now? That shift changed everything. It's not about reclaiming what was. It's about stepping into what is still possible. If you're watching this and think your time has passed, I want you to know time hasn't passed you. You're still in it. And just because you've aged doesn't mean you're done growing. I used to believe youth was where life happened. Now I know life happens wherever you choose to be awake to it. For me, that means noticing small things, saying yes more often, letting go of needing to impress anyone. It means choosing presence over productivity, connection over control. I still miss Ellen. That doesn't go away. But the grief isn't heavy anymore. It sits beside me like an old friend, reminding me how deeply I loved and how lucky I was to love at all. I'm not who I was. I'm not who I thought I'd be. But I am still here, and I am still becoming, not old, just new. I didn't rebuild my life overnight. I didn't discover some hidden secret or follow a perfect plan. What I found slowly through quiet mornings and small decisions is that after 60, the most powerful kind of strength is the one that doesn't look like strength at all. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's simply the choice to stay present when you have every reason to disappear. After loss, real healing doesn't begin with trying to get your old life back. It begins the moment you stop chasing what was and start noticing what still is. A working body, a curious mind, a memory that aches but also warms, a voice that can still whisper thank you when the light hits just right. Autonomy after 60 isn't about proving anything. It's about reclaiming the right to live your days with dignity, to say I'm still here even if no one else is watching, to decide this moment still belongs to me. And in that, something beautiful happens. you start becoming again. Not the person you were, but someone wiser, someone softer, someone who knows what really matters. You may not be able to change the past, but you can shape the way you carry it forward. That's what this stage of life is offering you, not just time, but truth. And if you accept it, you begin to live not with fear, but with focus. So I'll ask you this. What's one small thing you could do this week, not for anyone else, but for yourself, that reminds you you're still alive? Maybe it's calling someone, planting something, walking somewhere new, or simply sitting in the sunlight for 5 quiet minutes. Share your answer in the comments. Someone else might be waiting for your words to find their way forward. And if this message felt meaningful to you, please subscribe. That small act helps us continue making these quiet, honest videos for those navigating life after 60. And if you'd like to support this work, you're welcome to donate through the link below, only if it feels right in your heart. Thank you for being here, for staying, for still becoming. You are not old. You are becoming new again and again.